What do you find as your biggest challenge, or do you have any challenges working as a couple?
This is where we get to air out some dirty laundry.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cultivated Candle Co. YouTube channel. So this is a video we've had the idea of doing for a while, and we're actually kind of thinking it'll be more like a series. It has to do about working with your significant other. So coming up this May, it'll be officially 3 years of working together.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
We're still newbies, but we have learned some things along the way, had some interesting experiences, and honestly, we're still learning,
for sure, yeah. And we will till the day we die.
Yeah. For
Especially
sure.
with you.
We thought it would be fun to kind of start a series on working with your significant other and just kind of share our experience. So we thought for our first video, why not ask our Instagram followers and our stories, because if you guys follow us on Instagram, you know our stories are super active, but ask what questions do you have for Jeremy and I about working together with Cultivated Candle Co.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of at a really, really fitting time because right now, everybody is spending a lot more time with their significant other, if they live together, I guess, than normal.
Right.
Because people are kind of on lockdown because of COVID-19. So you might be able to use some of these tips even if you don't technically work with your significant other. Because you're probably both working from home right now.
Yeah, we were already planning to do this video this week, and a lot has changed in the past week. So I guess it fits. All right, so pulling up the first question, and thank you to everybody who submitted questions. It's always fun for us to answer. What do you find as your biggest challenge, or do you have any challenges working as a couple?
This is where we get to air out some dirty laundry.
I would say that our biggest challenge, specifically for Jared and I, is that we're both very different workers.
Yeah, and kind of just have different personalities in general, but it really, really comes out when you kind of depend on each other and when you have to go through the same task together.
Yeah, problem solving for work specifically, because before, like, Jared and I both worked full-time jobs, and so we work separately. So, you know, you come home at the end of the day, you're talking about your work day, you're talking about problems that you solved or are still happening in the workplace. And with the other person, you know, you are an outsider and it's your significant other. So you're like, oh yeah, like what the heck? Like that doesn't make any sense.
That person's so wrong.
Right. So it's like totally different than when you are working directly together on your business, and you have to take, especially for us, once again, we work very differently. So take the two styles of working and then solve a problem together with that. Or just, like Jared was saying, the task.
Right. In that situation, when you have a problem with a coworker or when you're trying to solve a problem, at 5 o'clock you go home and you can kind of like distance yourself from that person, from that problem a little bit. But for us, if we're working on a problem and let's say it doesn't get solved by the time we go home, we're still with that person. So it's difficult for us to shut off work mode and kind of separate work mode from, okay, now we're just hanging out as a couple. It gets really difficult to separate those two things.
It does. It's like our life. It's what we do every single day, 7 days a week. So it is really hard to shut that off because we created this and it's such a big part of us. It's like our work baby. We just kind of talked about separating work from relationships. So I think this next question is a good one to transition into.
Cool.
Do you have designated alone time?
And we do have, I don't know if you call it structured, but we do have a structure to where even though we work together, we actually don't work together as much as we would like, because my wood shop and the candle shop are in two separate places that are 30 minutes apart. So when I'm building furniture, you know, 6 days, 5 or 6 days out of the week, depending on, you know, what the two workloads are, you know, I'm there completely by myself, and then Colleen will be in the candle studio, or she'll be working here completely by herself, and then we'll come back together in the evening or even at night sometimes. So we actually do have a lot of alone time.
Yeah, we do.
And we actually...
We're trying to fix that.
Yeah, we're trying to fix that. So it's kind of funny. We work together and we're trying to work together more.
Yeah.
And now outside of work, as far as like the alone time, we don't really have that much of structured alone time.
For us to hang out.
For us to not work, but not be together.
Oh yeah, no, we don't have that. I don't know if you can tell like the common theme here. Something that we have gotten better at and still have a lot of improvement is just structured free time or even like structured time together. We did not do that at all at the beginning of owning the business, and we've more recently started to make sure that we prioritize days off or time off to do fun things, because we love working on Cultivated Candle Co. and Cultivated Design Co. stuff. And it's really hard when you love doing something to stop doing it. Who washes dishes and who dries?
Which is funny because we actually don't have a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So we kind of do actually have both of those tasks.
Literally our life. So if we're speaking literally, it's really a mix between the two of us. We don't really have set roles in the house.
It's pretty 50-50. And as far as who dries them, that would be a nobody. The Lord dries them.
Coming up? Alright. I am more front of house for Cultivated Candle Co. I can't do this. So I am more front of house for CCC, so focused on customer service, just relationships, sharing information about our business. So I'm front of house.
I'm back of house, which naturally fits with our personalities. So I'm doing the larger candle making, the larger batches, you know, how we're making, what our process is.
Any innovations with candles, Jer works on that.
And I'm also working on just optimizing anything that we do in our studio, kind of behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of like who dries the dishes and who washes, we're like, oh, that kind of applies to our new outlook on me being front of house and Jer being
So who would be drying and who would be washing, that analogy? I'm washing.
Yes, yeah, I think so because you're behind the scenes and then I am presenting it. Next question. What are each of your triggers when working together?
Being hungry.
Jeremy thought of his trigger first.
So I think something, a common trigger, if I'm in the middle of a process, if I'm in the middle of a task and Colleen starts to come over and be the second chef in the kitchen, starts to move some things around, maybe gives me a few pointers, a few suggestions. When
I start to micromanage.
Yeah, when Colleen starts to micromanage, and I have to just take a second just to be like, all right, she might have some good advice. Just take a deep breath and smile and say, okay.
And I think like for me, that was definitely something that would happen more frequently in the past. And then I had like working together, you know, you're like constantly learning things. Like I had to come to the realization of, okay, actually by doing this and inserting myself in these processes that I didn't necessarily set up, like I don't know the stuff as much as he does in terms of, you know, certain things. So it's kind of that mix of being like, okay, what to let go, when to jump in. It's definitely still happens, but would you say that it's better than
Yeah, it's
before?
definitely better. And a bad habit that I have with this, I don't think I've ever told you this, a bad habit I have when you start to give pointers is I want to prove Colleen wrong.
I mean, I haven't noticed that, but of course I remember anything that I said that was right. And then for me, I think a trigger would be, especially working on like front of house things and just how Jer and I work differently. There are things that I find to be very, very important in terms of the details of whatever process at Cultivated Candle Co. And he might be more relaxed about those details. And so that kind of triggers me because I'm like, why don't you know that like this is a very, very important detail in terms of maybe you know how packaging looks, things like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of situations where we have option A and option B, and to me, I'm somewhat indifferent. Like, let's do either. Whichever works fine. And you're like, no, it really matters which one we choose.
That's a trigger too. But both of these things, honestly, like especially as we're talking about it now, have gotten way easier and smoother. There's still a lot of work to do, but compared to what they used to be. All right, so do you have any advice for other couples starting to work together or starting a business together?
The biggest thing that's helped me is kind of focusing on, okay, what is my work style, what's my personality style, and what are the downfalls to that. And I think if you understand your own personality downfalls, you start to really appreciate the other person who can kind of make up for those things. And also, a lot of times when we have a little tiff, it's because of one of our downfalls. And so if you start getting into a disagreement, and then you're like, wait a second, I know that this is something that's a downfall of mine, it can kind of stop a disagreement, and you can be like, okay, maybe I'm not right here.
Right. Yeah, so being self-aware just of your personality, and then also like embracing your partner's personality and their traits and everything, and just kind of seeing, okay, we each have really strong benefits and weaknesses too, so how can we weave those into the perfect mix and also not get as frustrated at each other if we disagree on something or have a different viewpoint. I think that just embracing them has really made us a stronger team. So I just think that embracing each other's personality has really helped us get into a good workflow and also kind of come up with that front of house, back of house concept that we've talked about.
And bonus advice, talk about it to the other person.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Because if you can vocalize, here's what I'm not very good at, you know, introduce some humility into into the mix, I think that really goes a long way.
100%.
100.
Final question for today. Have you had any big fights at work? We are not the type to yell at each other or have like big fights in general.
We do have, I call them more of like tiffs.
Yeah, tiffs.
We do have some big tiffs.
Sometimes like the ones that I can think about more specifically have to do with our different personalities. Shocker, we've been talking about it this whole time, but like me wanting to move quickly and fast through something and Jared maybe moving a little bit slower on things. Like there's one instance that I think of, and it wasn't even like a big fight, but we were getting ready to go to Cincinnati for for a market, and Jeremy's car had been broken into a few days before we had to go on that trip, and we weren't able to get the window fixed, so it was like had like plastic on it or something, and we were already running late for this show, and Jer wanted to like add some additional plastic.
I wanted to take like 10 minutes or so and put plastic up on the window because it was raining, it was cold because it's November.
Yeah.
And Colleen's like, we have to go now, we're gonna be late.
Well, I think there was like another option we could have done.
I don't think so.
But anyway, so it was like stressful because we had to hit the road to make the market in time. We're trying to get packed up, and it's taking longer because he's doing this additional step. So he gets it done, and we get in the car.
And I think I said the word or the phrase because you said let's go, and I'm like, I said something about it's not worth saving an extra 5 or 10 minutes and having a terrible drive. And of course, we're both upset about the situation.
The funny thing about it was we get on the highway, like right by our studio, and within the first like 2 minutes, whoosh.
It makes a huge noise. It sounds like a gunshot, and the plastic is just gone.
That's, a long story that wasn't like a big fight or anything. Kind of like Jeremy said, more of like a tiff.
Right.
But, we get on each other's nerves naturally, but I don't think we've had any big fights.
Yeah, but it's just not our personality type.
Right, right. All right, so those are the questions that we have for this video. I think in the future we might come with like some more of our own topics. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think so. And now that we've recorded this, maybe we can be a little bit more conscious. And when we do have something that happens in the shop, we can kind of be like, all right, we'll talk about
update
this.
you.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Like we said earlier, it's fun for us to share, little tidbits of our experience owning a business and working together with you. So thanks for submitting questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.